Rochwerger from the IBM Haifa laboratories. I'm working in the RESERVOIR project as the lead architect, and I'm going to try to give you in a few minutes a summary of what the project is all about. Cloud computing, there are many definitions about what cloud computing is, but they all pretty much talk about massively scalable IT over the internet. And one thing that we have noticed, and not only we, this is common knowledge, is that no single cloud provider, no matter how big it is, can really provide infinite amount of resources at any time to anybody. So massively scalable has its limits, and this is the exact issue that RESERVOIR is investigating. How can we put together several providers in a way that by combining the resources we can really get this notion of an infinitely scalable infrastructure. This is doable clearly only if the usage patterns between the different providers are different enough so when one needs the resources the other has them available. Just let's try to see what we mean by federation and collaborating computing clouds. In this picture, what you see is two cloud providers, let's say one in the UK and one in China. These are located in different places exactly because we need to find the different usage patterns. It's important that they can share resources when they're not using them. So in this picture, what we see is that the color machines show different applications. The ones that are not colored represent the available capacity, and the people represent the load on the different applications. Just to make things easier, we have one person per virtual machine, but this is just so the animation is simpler. So what happens when there is a sudden increase in the needs of a particular application and the cloud provider doesn't have enough resources to keep this ratio 1-to-1. So since this cloud provider has a partner in China, it can select some of the lower priority workloads and move them while they're working, move them to another cloud provider. So this is what we see here, as one of the yellow machines has moved all the way to China. Now we have enough resources to satisfy the needs for the purple application so they can be served locally. At one point, the load will decrease, so we will be releasing resources, and since these cloud providers are partners, but they are paying per usage, we will want to migrate back what we send to China. And after the transaction is done, clearly there is money transfer between the two cloud providers. And what our project is trying to do is essentially capture all the necessary technologies to enable this kind of transactions between cloud providers. The migration of working workloads and the accounting and billing are all components of the project. So just a summary slide. As I mentioned, we're investigating technologies of putting together several cloud providers into one. This is a European funded project. We are truly partners across industry and academia. We even have a standards body as part of the consortium. One important part of our project is that right from the beginning, this project is being driven by real-world scenarios. We do not want to come up with a solution that doesn't have a problem. So essentially what we're looking at is real applications and how can they leverage the cloud computing and a dynamic infrastructure. So in here we have a business application that is being provided by SAP. We have a telco application that is provided by Telefónica. Utility computing is a particularly interesting one because what we're doing in the utility computing scenario is that essentially we're putting a grid on top of a cloud. And this is being provided by Sun. We're using the Sun Grid Engine. And we also have a government application that brings very interesting set of requirements. For example, the limitations that, yes, we can move around the workloads, but they have to stay within a certain jurisdiction. For example, they cannot cross out of the country. They also have some requirements such as the needs for many resources at known times. This is something that we can plan before. That's the short summary I had for the project.